Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lewis Sports Network. It is your boy Lewis coming back at you once again with another heavy hitter banger with yet another video. Make sure to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure your notifications are turned on. Make sure you guys are sharing this on your social media outlets and Reddit. Truly appreciate it. Let me know who was in the building. Shout out to, give me 1 second as I check out. Again, smash the like and hit the subscribe. Shout out to Rock Cowan. As he says, we're back at it again. Absolutely. Shout out to Caden who says, hey, what's going on, man? Karam was like, Lewis, at least with the right time, you'll be streaming. And I already gave my response to that one. Shout out to Maze, who was the first one in the building. He says, let's get lit. And G Money, who always says facts as always. Truly appreciate that, man. Make sure to hit the like, hit the subscribe, and make sure you're sharing this on the social media outlets and also on Reddit. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing well. And the topic of the day is talking about Tmac and Yao Ming. Shout out to G Money who says, hey, what's up? We said Tmac and Yao are arguably one of the greatest what ifs in NBA history. And guys, before quickly, can you guys also do me a favor and make sure that you hit the like for this video right here, which will be tomorrow. That's going to be the NFL trivia. And also, can you guys click on this link as well? This is going to be the NBA trivia, which will be on Saturday. So the NFL one will be on Friday, and the NBA trivia will be on Saturday. If you guys can smash the like on those videos, man, it would really help and appreciate it. So, thank you guys. Want to get on to this video. Two great players. Two great players, definitely. They definitely should have won championships together for sure. Both of these guys are in the Hall of Fame. So it just lets you know how great that these guys were. Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, both of their careers were cut short due to injuries. And I'm going to tell you why that both of these players, as great as they were, have one of the greatest what ifs in NBA history. But I want to give a retrospect of their careers before we get started. And shout out to Houston Rockets fans everywhere. I know some of these guys are two of your favorites. Maybe some of you guys might not like Tmac's time in Houston. Maybe some of you guys did. It depends. But again, he played for the Houston Rockets. Let's see. Tmac played for Toronto. He played for Orlando. He played for Houston. He played for New York. He played for Detroit, he played for Atlanta, and he played for San Antonio. So that was 7 NBA teams in his career. Tracy McGrady was a 2-time scoring champion, 2000-2001 most improved player. He made 7 All-NBA teams and was a 7-time All-Star. He went into the Hall of Fame, so he is a Hall of Famer. Now, if we go to Yao Ming, and I'm going to check his stats as well. And if we look at his basketball career, smash the like, hit the subscribe. He made 5 All-NBA teams. He was on the 2002-2003 All-Rookie First Team. And he is also in the Hall of Fame and made 8 All-Star teams. And we know, and his nickname is the Dynasty. If you think about the Zing Dynasty, that's, during the times of the Chinese Emperor, during the Zing Dynasty. And he's also known as the Great Wall. And with Tracy McGrady, his nickname is, I'm surprised they call him the Big Sleep. I always only really known him as Tmac, but that's just me personally. Tmac in his career averaged 19.6 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 4.4 assists, shot a career 43.5% from the field, 33.8% from the three-point line, 74.6% from the free throw line, win shares of 97.3, and his player efficiency rating was 22.1. I know what they like to say. Some of those stats were like completely overrated when it comes to, judging these players' careers. And Tmac made his NBA debut in October 31st of 1997. Same debut as Tim Duncan, who's going into the Hall of Fame this year. but it's being pushed next year. Yao Ming, first overall pick in the 2002 NBA draft, debuted on October 30th, 2002. Also Hall of Famer. He only played 486 career games while Tmac played in 938. So you're talking about a guy who played nearly half of the games that Tmac played. 19 points per game, 9 rebounds per game in his career. I'll check in the chat in 1 second. 1.6 assists for his career, 52% from the field, 20% from the three-point line. How about a career 83.3% from the free throw line for Yao Ming? And they're talking about a center. And free throw percentage, as I mentioned, 52.5 effective field goal percentage, 23 win shares. 23 in the career PER and win shares of 65.9. And he is originally born from Shanghai, China. Tracy McGrady went to Durham, North Carolina, for high school, Mount Zion Christian Academy, and he was the 9th overall pick in the '97 draft. And he is from Bartow, Florida. Currently 41 years old, while Yao Ming is 39. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button as you guys come in. Shout out to Mile High. Shout out to Caden. Shout out to the King. Appreciate that. Karam says, "Yo, Lewis." Shout out to Mile High 6 Sports. Appreciate you coming through. And Karam has to say that the Rockets ownership isn't that good. Are you talking about currently, or are you talking about during Tmac and Yao's time? Like, which in particular? And I know you're not a fan about Houston in particular, but so as I continue, guys, I just want to say before I continue, we reached 800 subscribers. I want to thank Alex Sports Network. Want to thank Sports Critic. Want to thank everybody on Alex's channel that subscribe to my channel. I want to give a huge thank you to those guys, because without them, I wouldn't have gotten to 800 subs, and obviously to my LSM Mod Squad. Shout out to Juicy Man, and he says, "I finally made it." Shout out to you, man, and he says, "I finally made it and liked it." I know you're from Alex's channel too. Appreciate you. Shout out to Richard, who says, "What's up?" Like I said, shout out to everybody in the chat. Like I said, I'm at 801 subscribers right now. We're trying to get to that 1K, and obviously continue to push, as we continue to grow here. But thank you to everybody that has contributed, to the success of the Lewis Sports Network. I wouldn't have gotten here, wouldn't have gotten here without you guys. So I truly appreciate that. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart from the Lewis Sports Network. And Ron says that Yao was pretty nice, and he also said that he was pretty skilled for a big. Correct. Now, Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming, two of the biggest what ifs when it comes to duos in NBA history. Why? Because unfortunately, not only were they able to win, but it was also because they were very injury prone in their time together. Now, Tmac got traded in the 2004 offseason from Orlando to Houston. That sent Steve Francis, because he was part of the Steve Francis package. And Yao Ming also, we never got to see what Yao's potential could potentially be, because he also suffered injuries as well. And Juicy Man says he's got to go, but he wanted to come by to see. Hey, man, no problem, man. Appreciate you for coming and hitting the like on the video. I truly appreciate that. G Money says Yao Ming and Tmac were like an unlucky version of James Harden and CP3. I can't necessarily say that. I can't necessarily say that they were like James Harden and CP3. I think that's a kind of a poor comparison to me. I think that's kind of a poor comparison, because if you look at the last 2 seasons, they were facing the best. Because unlike them, they were facing the best team, and they still were able to knock them out. And even with a hobbled KD, they still couldn't get the job done. So I really feel like that's just a matter of not getting the job done when they had opportunities. So I see what you're saying, but I disagree with you. I don't think that there was they were like a James Harden CP3 tandem. I can't make that comparison. No. And it's true, Richard, you make a good point, because Before I continue, G Money says that Yao was very underrated. He can hit the mid range, he can post up, he can block shots, and he was very versatile. Yao Ming was not a power player. He was 7'6", but he was a 7'5", but he was not a power player. He was more so finesse. So he relied more so on skill. And also, what people tend to forget is guys at his size are really not supposed to excel. Like guys at his size are really not supposed to excel. When I think of guys like Manute Bol, I think of George Mirasan, I think of Sean Bradley, guys like that. Like Yao was really one of the guys that was putting in 20 points and could give you at least 10 rebounds, giving you a double double. Uh, if you look at Yao stats, Yao was able to give you 20 and 10 at least twice in his career. And Yao was very efficient. Yao was very efficient. And the most games, and it's funny because his first 2 seasons in his career, he actually played 82 games. And then in 2005, he played 80 games. But his injury bug began to happen during the 05-06 season. And then, it probably trickled down from there. And like Richard said, Tracy McGrady probably has more what ifs than Yao Ming. Because with Yao Ming, his what if is more so on his potential as an all-time great center. Tracy McGrady was not just as an all-time great, excuse me, not just as an all-time great small forward and two guard, but also, you know, other teammates that he could have possibly played with if they were healthy. You look at Yao Ming, as Richard mentioned, you look at Grant Hill. Um, the fact that Doc Rivers turned down Tim Duncan. Also, if you think about it, also, I just found out about this. Tmac was actually supposed to go to the Miami Heat back in the 2000 season, but he turned them down. But Tmac actually would have played with Tim Hardaway. I think that was the season that Alonzo Mourning ended up having the kidney problem, if I'm not mistaken. Bruce Bowen was also on that team on the 2001 Heat. But yeah, he was very good. Remember when he blocked Shaq 6 times in one game? I remember. Yao and T-Mac could have stayed injury free and together a while longer. Who knows? I agree with that. It's crazy to me how this tandem would have been really scary. And I look at even the 2009 basketball team with Ron Artest. Had T-Mac been, and if Yao Ming doesn't get injured in game 3 against the Lakers, if T-Mac was fully healthy for that season, I really think with the way the Rockets control tempo in that series, even though the Lakers did win in 7, I think that they win the series. They win the series against the Lakers. I really think that they would have won against Kobe and company, Kobe, Powell, Lamar and company, um, in that 2009 semifinals, going 7 games because the Rockets were very competitive in that series. And the Bulls had an offer for him on the table for Scotty. What if he played with MJ? True, because they were trying to trade him. They were trying to trade Scotty in '97 to Toronto for T-Mac. I kind of wonder if MJ would have had the patience to, work with T-Mac. I kind of wonder. It makes me think. And shout out to Daniel Berry in the building, man. He says, "Sub Lewis the GOAT." Appreciate that, Daniel. And the Bulls had an offer. Yeah, it's true. He had an offer, and you know what happens is that these guys they definitely could have been a tandem. So if you look at the 2004 2005 season, they won 51 games together, right? T-Mac and Yao game. You're talking about a big, and you actually have a wing player. So you kind of had I'm not saying probably as dominant as Kobe and Shaq, but definitely would have been one of the best duos of that time. And I think they would have won a championship together had they been able to surround them with, the best pieces. If you look at the Rockets, if you look at T-Mac in 2004, 2005, he played 78 games. He averaged 25 points per game. He shot 43% from the field. He played 78 games that season. And then you have Yao Ming in 2005. He played 80 games that season. So at least for the most part, Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming were healthy. In that 2005 season, they faced the Mavericks, I believe, who won 58 games, and they won 51 games. Uh, the Rockets, you can make the case that they should have won the series against Dallas, but they didn't do that. And it was weird because that series was very weird because the Rockets, I believe, won the first two games in Dallas. Then Dallas won the next two games in Houston. Then Dallas won game 5. The Rockets won game 6. And then Dallas eventually won game 7. And I believe the Rockets got blown out in game 7. Rockets might have made the NBA Finals if Tmac and Yao were healthy in 2009. I think they beat the Lakers, Nuggets, and Magic. I think the Rockets, they definitely beat the Lakers. That would have been an interesting series to go up against the Nuggets with the depth that they had. And you're talking about Chauncey Billups and Melo, with Kenya Martin and J.R. Smith, and those guys going up against T-Mac, Yao, and Ron Artest, and Ron Artest guarding Carmelo. I think that would have been a really interesting series. Yao and Shaq kind of went at it when they faced each other. Yeah, they had some good battles. They had some good battles. I remember their first couple of meetings, how they went up against one another. I mean, it was cool. And kudos to Yao Ming from working with Hakeem Olajuwon on his footwork. Yao had excellent footwork. He had a good touch around the basket with his hook shot. He had a nice little pretty jump shot in the mid range, and obviously he was one of the best free throw shooters, in NBA history. And you're talking about a big man who shot 83% for his career. I think his best free throw shooting season was in the 2007 season, even though that season was cut short. Actually, no, my mistake. It was actually the 2009 season. He shot 86.6%. This is your center, ladies and gentlemen, shooting 86.6% from the free throw line. Yao had great form. And G Money also says that the Rockets should have beat the Mavs in '05 after they won the first two games in Dallas. They got walloped by 40 in game 7, and it was pretty embarrassing, yes. And what I've noticed about T-Mac when it comes to these kind of games in the first round, he has a tendency to shoot poorly. He shoots well in the beginning, but tends to shoot poorly in the last couple of games in a playoff series. It happened with Detroit in '03. It happened with the Mavericks in '05. Shout out to Bronco Fanatic. What is up? And I believe it happened in 2007 and 2008 against the Jazz. Because I believe that series also went 7 games. T-Mac and Yao, it's crazy how those guys have, pretty much. They could have been so much more. And it would have been nice for the city of Houston because remember that the last time that the Rockets have been champions was during the Clutch City days with Hakeem Olajuwon, Robert Horry, Sam Cassell, Kenny Smith, Vernon Maxwell, Otis Thorpe, Mario Elie, Carl Herrera, Scott Brooks, those guys. So it'd have been a long time. I would have loved to see Yao play about 13 to 15 seasons in the league. Tracy McGrady, had it not been for his injuries, I could see McGrady playing anywhere from like 16 to 18 seasons, I think. Me personally, with Tracy McGrady. Let me ask you a question. If Tracy McGrady and Yao do not get hurt, what do you think the potential for their tandem is in the Western Conference? If those guys did not get hurt, what was their potential as a tandem in the Western Conference? Because this was an unbelievable tandem that unfortunately did not live up to their potential due to their injuries. Like Yao was, had 2 seasons of averaging 20 and 10. And Richard says, man, most teams switched the zone against T-Mac. He had no help. Rockets lost to the Jazz in 7. They lost game 7 at home, and I think they were up 3-2. Yeah, they blew a 3-2 lead in the 2007 playoffs against the Jazz. They should have beaten the Jazz too. This is one of the reasons I think why T-Mac kind of gets the stigma that he does when it comes to first round defeats. But I tell you, if T-Mac plays more than 47 games in 2006 and he made the All-Star team that year, and if Yao plays more than 57 games, The Rockets make the playoffs, because they made the playoffs every other year that they were together except 2006. I still remember in 2008, the Rockets had that historic 22-game win streak, and I believe it ended at the hands of the Boston Celtics in that regular season matchup. I believe, if I remember. Again, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. Shout out to Maze in the building. He says, "How am I late? I was the first one." Well, that was because I had not started the stream yet when you commented. It was like a while. It was like hours ago. So that's why. But again, smash the like button, hit the subscribe. I have a lot of respect for Yao Ming. I love the way that he played the game. He was very humble. Just a great player. Played with a lot of heart. At least he was keeping the dream alive. Shout out to Tomoko for the 13th like. Bronco Fanatic says they could have won a chip because they almost knocked out the Lakers in the late 2000s, 2009. That's correct. Tmac is a top 10 shooting guard of all time. Okay. I could see them maybe winning a couple of chips. May says, I went tubing and I cut my foot 3 times and I'm getting some alone time when I wanted to. I'm here, my guy. See what I want to. Appreciate. Okay, cool. Shout out to Maze and I hope your foot is okay. G Money says that the Rockets had beaten the Jazz, they would have beaten the Warriors in the semis and would have faced the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals. That would have been an interesting series. Maybe not in terms of, it doesn't sound like a sexy matchup, but at the very least, I would have loved to see how T-Mac measures himself against Tim Duncan. So that would have been crazy. Um, if the Rockets, hold on, Bronco says if T-Mac had played today, he would drop 40 every night. Let me ask you a question. What would Yao Ming's numbers be like if he played in today's NBA? Let me know in the comment section. What would Yao's numbers be? A prime Yao Ming, who never really got to live up his full potential in terms of what he could have been had it not been for the injuries, because he was starting to show it when he was playing. So he proved to you he could give you 25 and 9, 26 and 10. What would Yao have been in today's NBA? I know that it's about the 3-point line and Yao's got the mid range, but what would Yao have been had Yao, been able to do that? And Richard said, okay, so Bronco says if T-Mac played, he would have dropped 40 every night. Richard says if they played in this era, they would sit until they were fully healthy, not play through injuries. I mean, if you look at what's going on right now. G Money says big time facts, Bronco Fanatic. Shout out to Bronco Fanatic for the update. We got 15 likes. Appreciate that. G Money says, I say the Rockets win around 2 to 3 championships if they were healthy or if they just executed. The championships are a little bit, they were capable of winning. I think it does depend on matchup. I will say that their 2009 team to me was their best team because they were deep. They had the inside game to match up with the Lakers. And they also, like I said, I thought that they were more deeper than LA personally. Tomoko says, Louis Stanley reminds me of Simon Peter, one of the 12 disciples of Jesus, to whom he said, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Okay. May says, this Rockets team wasn't as good as I expected. They needed one more good player. I feel like, and it would have been really good. G Money says that Yao Ming would average like 30 points and 15 rebounds if he was healthy in today's era. The Bronco Fanatic says he would get 30 and 15. Ron Cowan says T-Mac had the talent to be even greater than he was. I agree with that. I felt like T-Mac was capable of being a two-way player on the defensive end, but he didn't always commit on defense. I felt like T-Mac at times worried a lot more about scoring than he did about defense because T-Mac had the athleticism to be a great defender. He was athletic. He had speed in the open floor. I mean, some of T-Mac has had some jaw-dropping dunks himself, especially when it comes to the pass to himself. I always felt like the pass to himself was always more fun to see. Vince Carter, obviously, he's the greatest dunker I've ever seen, but T-Mac has had some underrated dunks of his own. Tomoko says, Yao Ming was like the only player taller than Shaq in the same era. Yes. G Money says, if the Rockets and the Cavs faced off in the 2009 NBA Finals, who do you think would have won? It would have been the Houston Rockets because of the tandem of Yao and T-Mac. Because Yao can step out and shoot the mid range, and Yao had the footwork to dominate Big Z in the post. I don't think Big Z would have been ready for Yao Ming, even if Yao Ming is as slow as Big Z. But Yao to me would have been he would have been a matchup problem for Big Z. He would have given Big Z problems because of Yao's footwork. And the thing is, Yao has a soft touch around the basket, and then you can't foul Yao because Yao shoots 80. He's 80, 83 plus from the line, so that doesn't help neither. So it's like with Yao, you want to keep him off the free throw line. You want to keep him as far away from the basket as possible. And even then, so Yao has a mid-range shot. Um, Yao would have also have had to develop a three-point shot. True, that's true. Yao would be averaging Giannis's numbers. I say similar or no playing time because of the style of play. The Rockets would have beaten the Cavs. I got the Rockets beating the Cavs in 2009. I would have had them beating them. And get a shot of Yao Ming, who went into the Hall of Fame class of 2016 with Shaq and Allen Iverson on the thumbnail, as you guys see there. Shout out to your boy Tmac. Okay, let me ask you a question about Tmac. And Ron kind of mentioned this. Why, in your opinion, do you think that Tmac didn't live up to his potential and he could have been greater than he was if you take away the injuries? You know, let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? May says, I haven't even said Yao and T-Mac time. Oh, how would the 2020 Bucks play in Yao and T-Mac's time against a Prime and Prime Yao and T-Mac? That's a good question. I say the Rockets over Cavs in '09. When T-Mac played with Vince Carter in Toronto, it was pretty lit, man. Nice little show. For real. I mean, let me ask y'all this. Do you think that T-Mac, it was a little premature for him to leave Toronto? Or do you think it was the best thing that he left Toronto? Let me know in the comment section. He left the Raptors, that's why. T-Mac came super close winning the chip in 2013, but he missed free throws, lack of rebounding, missed calls, and etc. Cost him. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, that's probably that is true. But I'm asking you, like, why do you think, besides injuries, why do you think that T-Mac never kind of really lived up to his potential, you know, in his career? He did score over 17,000 points. He did make 7 All-Star teams. I mean, his resume kind of looks kind of empty, even though he did make some accomplishments. And the Bronco Fanatic says him and Vince would have beaten the Sixers that year. And Richard says prematurely he left. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think if T-Mac and Vince would have been, if they really would have figured it out how to be able to play together, um, it's true. Vince and T-Mac has so much potential, which is why I'm a little bit more. See, at least with T-Mac, T-Mac had a lot of injuries in his career. I was more disappointed with Vince Carter in the fact that how he was able to put Toronto on the map, but then really didn't commit to himself. And I know Vince had injuries, but the fact that he didn't work as hard to try to be great is kind of why I'm a little bit upset at Vince. You know, he was able to turn his career around and he will be in the Hall of Fame. I just don't know if he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer because I don't think Vince Carter is a first ballot Hall of Famer in my personal opinion. But I still say that, you know, for sure that um, T-Mac, I feel like too pretty. Yes, we did get to see Orlando Magic T-Mac, and that is a blessing. But I feel like it was a little premature because I would have loved to see what T-Mac and Vince Carter would have been. Uh, May said it was a bad thing that he left the Raptors. If he would have had stayed there and practiced more, and he wasn't as clutch as people expected him to be, in my opinion. T-Mac, VC, and the Raps would have beaten the Sixers and the Bucks, but they would have lost to the Lakers. T-Mac crossed Kobe. Yeah, true. T-Mac wasn't as great as he could be because he was selfish, man. He wanted to be a star. Yeah, I feel like T-Mac is also one of those that you kind of question his work ethic, and I feel like him and Vince kind of fall in that same line. Uh, they just didn't work as hard and really, to me, weren't motivated to be great. I feel like that they tried to rely on their talent alone and that they could be just great on that instead of working. I'm not saying that T-Mac didn't work hard, But I feel like when you want to be a great player, you try to work on a lot of things as much as possible to be great, and that would be on offense and defense. You know, you're obviously not going to be able to do things that a big can do, but still, like there could be some things that he really could have gotten better at. And so not just injuries derailed his career, but I feel like T-Max was kind of selfish in a sense. But again, we would have never seen the T-Mac that we would have saw in Orlando, you know, and a small part in Houston. So in one sense, it was a blessing because we got to see how good Tracy McGrady really was. But you know, it kind of derailed him from winning in a sense. Um, oh, thank you for that, Tomoko. I call it the 3 L's. So 3 L's, the 3 L model: live, laugh, love. There you go. There's a reason for all three. That's right. T-Mac, and that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Tomoko. G Money says, May says that he was selfish. Uh, right? G Money says T-Mac was a nice guy, but he was selfish. Yeah, he was. He was selfish. Ron says T-Mac could have been more rounded as a player, but he was a little inconsistent. T-Mac was a volume scorer. Bronco says it's Doc Rivers' fault as well because the Magic could have put Tim Duncan and T-Mac. That's true. He decided to not let he didn't want Tim Duncan to be part of the team. It was crazy for me that T-Mac suffered a lot of back injuries. That to me what was so crazy for somebody so young to be suffering back injuries like back spasms at 22, 23, 24, 25 years old. That's what was really alarming for me. You know, he ended up having some shoulder injuries. I know that he had I know that he had arthritis in his knee. Uh, you know, he had a lot of joint pain. It was crazy that T-Mac was just a walking cast of injuries at such a young age, and he had not even reached 30 yet. Same thing with Yao Ming, because what derailed Yao Ming was the foot injuries. He had broken his foot twice. I also believe that Yao Ming also had a knee issue himself. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button for the Lewis Sports Network. G Money says, I think the Magic could have won a few titles with Duncan, Hill, and T Mac together. If they were completely healthy, they would have owned that Eastern Conference. If T Mac, if T Mac, Grant Hill, and Tim Duncan were healthy, they would have owned that Eastern Conference for a few years. Because you get a prime Grant Hill, you have a young T Mac who rises to prominence, uh, you know, as the most improved player, and then eventually becomes who he is, and then Tim Duncan, who was already a champion and an all-star. So you get championship experience already. They definitely would have gotten at least one. Man, I feel like T Mac would have blossomed next to Vince, man. They just needed the right coach. Yeah, I feel like Butch Carter was not the coach for T Mac and Vince. And as much as Lenny Wilkins has, you know, won a lot of games, I don't know if he was the coach for them neither. I don't know if he was the coach for them neither. Because he did go to the NBA Finals, but that was as a player. I think the deepest that Lenny went was the Eastern Conference Finals, and that was with Cleveland. But unfortunately, they ran into MJ, which is Michael Jordan. And G Money says, "Who do you think was more unluckier, the Rockets or the 2018 Rockets?" Man, G Money, did you notice that? I to me feel that the Rockets to me were more unluckier than the 2018 Rockets. The reason I say the 2009 Rockets was because T Mac was already injured for most of that season, and they had Ron Artest. So if Ron Artest was pretty healthy that season, was still playing pretty good defense. You know, Yao Ming was playing great in the Lakers series right up until that injury he suffered. So if you take T Mac and Yao, you add them with Ron Artest, Luis Scola, Aaron Brooks, Shane Battier, that was a nice team. If those two are healthy, we would not be talking about Kobe as an NBA champion for 2009. And then how would Kobe's career would have looked a little bit more different? The narrative would have been he would have been all his titles would always be linked to Shaq, and Kobe to me would have never been able to live with that. That's what I personally think when it comes to that, because I mean T-Mac, he looks good in that Orlando jersey. I'm gonna be honest, he looks real good in that Orlando jersey. But man, what could have been though? And just felt like T-Mac and Vince started getting hurt because they separated too much of a load for them to carry. Well, remember, T-Mac when he was in Orlando, he had quite a few players get injured too. I remember when I was going through the roster at one point, and I was saying that guys like Mike Miller, Gordon Girichek, and all those guys, they may not be great players, but you had four starters that missed a lot of games even during T-Mac's time. I believe T-Mac's in 2002 and 2003. And considering the amount of games that the Magic won, they probably would have won close to 50 games had those guys not been injured. And because the funny thing is, in back-to-back seasons, the Magic got off to very good starts, very solid starts. It's just they were never able to maintain it due to all those injuries. And T-Mac had to pretty much carry the load. With Vince Carter did have to carry load too. The rosters, they did change a little bit. But then look how quickly as the Raptors were in the playoffs, were just as quickly as them missing the playoffs for the next, what was it, 4 seasons? And Vince was pretty much going after that. So G Money says we would have had the Lakers against the Magic in 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004. You really think so? I don't think so. If Orlando forms the big three with Duncan, T-Mac, and Hill with the role players like Good and Miller and etc. I would have been interested to see how the Magic do against the Bucks, and then obviously how the Magic do against the 76ers if they were to meet, in the Eastern Conference Finals. So that would have been interesting. And Ron says the thing with Vince is he got so caught up in the highlights that he forgot about trying to play winning basketball. It's true. Just look at the 2000 season. Just look at the 2000 season with Vince. Did you see how much stardom and how much attention he got just in his second season? That success is really getting to his head. Shout out to Clay Pro in the building. I wish I could join y'all. I'm watching this stupid movie called Brahms, The Boy 2. It's all good, Clay Pro. Just appreciate you coming through. And like I said, guys, man, you guys don't have to donate. As I always say, if you would like to donate, you could just, again, you can Cash App me or you could PayPal me, of course. But again, shout out to Clay Pro for coming through. G Money says, the Bronco Fanatic says, and I agree with you, Ron, you're speaking facts. Could you imagine if T-Mac never got injured and played against Jordan in the 90s? Well, T-Mac was drafted in 97, so he really wouldn't have played Jordan as much. And he played Jordan in his Wizard years. He got to play him a little bit in his Bulls years, but those were Jordan's last 2 seasons, or his last season in 98. And remember, Jordan retired in 99. He was out of the league for 3 years after he fully retired for the 99 season. So G Money also goes, hell, the Magic would have played the Suns in 2005, the Mavericks in 2006, and the Suns and the Jazz in 2007 in the NBA Finals until the Big Three Celtics in 2008. I don't know about all that. I don't know about that. That hypothetical was kind of crazy. I don't know if that was going to happen. If Duncan was not on the Spurs after 2000, I don't see the Spurs making the NBA Finals in 2003. No, because David Robinson was already past his prime by 90. I mean, David Robinson was 34 years old by the time that they really turned the team over to Tim Duncan. and David Robinson was not carrying no team. He had already did it, and as the lead person with pretty good San Antonio Spurs teams, he wasn't able to lead them to the NBA Finals at the very least. So that hurt them. So yeah, if you take Tim Duncan off of that team, the Spurs are not going to the NBA Finals. Seeding would have been different in 2003 because the Spurs were the number one seed in 03. That means Dallas would have been the number one seed instead of them, and then the Lakers move up to probably the third spot in the West. The Spurs wouldn't have been so high, and people forget that in 2000, when Tim Duncan was out due to the ACL injury, the Phoenix Suns knocked them off 3-1 in the 2000 playoffs. Richard says, yeah, the Raptors tried to make Skip Tumalu their star, which he's not. Good, solid player, man, and I know he's from the N1, street ball, but no. G Money says also the Spurs don't make the NBA Finals in 2007 if Tim Duncan wasn't there. But what about 2005? Don't go too far, man. You also have 2005. I meant also if he played against Jordan in his prime or all of his Bull years. Well, I mean, the thing is, Tmac was drafted in 97. If he was drafted in the early 90s, I would have agreed with you, but he was 97. So he really didn't get a chance to see him in his prime because he was already there late. Death is sad at first, but it's part of life. That makes your story perfect in a way. Every good movie or book has to have a conclusion, a cessation, and for us in real life, that's what death is. Very agreeable. G Money says, do you think the Pistons and the Heat beat the Big Three Magic in 2005 and 2006, respectively? And shout out to Juicy Man for being back. He says, what's up? What's good, man? What's good? Shout out to everybody in the chat that are here. We got 15 likes, 8 people watching. Let's get the likes. Hopefully get some more views up. That's a good question, G Money. If the Magic were to meet the Pistons, that's really tough to say because I don't know who the coach would have been at the time. See, that's the thing that people got to factor sometimes. You have to understand like the factors that go into all this stuff. We would have to see who the head coach was going to be. So I think that knowing who's coaching, who's their supporting cast, we got to figure that out. So that's really important to know. I just don't think we could just make hypotheticals like that because who knows who's coaching them? I mean, remember Doc Rivers got fired, I believe, midway through the 2004 season. But the Spurs don't get no chips without Tim Duncan, and that's period. That's facts, Richard. That's facts. So yeah, that Pistons and the Heat thing, that's kind of difficult. That's kind of difficult to judge. G Money says, I forget too that the Spurs don't make the NBA Finals in 2005 without Timmy D because Parker and Ginobili were young. To be honest, people could talk all they want about, that Tim Duncan, he always played with, great players and all that kind of stuff. But just take Tim Duncan off of that team because he does so much for you on both ends of the floor from his prime to his older years that how much easier would it be for teams to score in the paint if Tim Duncan is not there, altering shots, blocking shots? Then you take away his low post, being able to slow the game down. And his selflessness to allow the system to not revolve around him so that Greg Popovich can implement a system where everybody touches the basketball. So you take away his leadership, there's no championships without Tim Duncan, period. So we could talk about how lucky Tim was playing, but that Spurs franchise would look so different had Tim Duncan not been on that team. So yeah, Tony Parker and Ginobili was young. I mean, it changes the landscape of what the NBA Finals would have looked like in the Western Conference. Do you think that the Spurs would be consistent contenders if Tim Duncan was not there? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that. I mean, if you have a book of spells, yes. If you have a magic wand, yes. Magic is definitely everywhere. Again, ladies and gentlemen, smash the like button, hit the subscribe. Appreciate everybody coming through the chat. We're talking about Tmac and Yao Ming. And we're talking about if these guys were healthy. There's a lot of what ifs when it comes to injuries. The Bronco Fanatic says the all NBA what if team: Derrick Rose, T-Mac, Grant Hill, Chris Webber, Yao Ming. Wow. Duncan, all-time great. People talk about his point total, but he played in a slow-paced offense and dominated both sides of the ball. Great point, Richard. Great point. People forget the era that he played in. He played in a very slow-paced era in the late 90s all the way to the mid 2000s. People forget that about Tim Duncan. People forget that. And was still able to complement his game in the era that we're in today. The man played 19 seasons, almost 2 decades of basketball. And Bronco Fanatics is honorable mention for the all NBA what if team, Penny Hardaway. I mean, you could pretty much kind of add him there, even though there's five. To be honest, Penny Hardaway is he's a much more what if than Tracy McGrady is. Tracy McGrady, yeah, he could have been so much more, and he was still able to put 17,000 points. Penny Hardaway wasn't as lucky. Penny Hardaway wasn't as lucky because once Shaq left, Penny had to carry the load, and Penny that's what resulted in a lot of Penny's injuries. And Penny Hardaway was on record saying, had he stayed and had him and Shaq stayed, they could have won possibly a championship or so together, maybe a couple championships. It just didn't happen. If Tim Duncan wasn't on the Spurs, we wouldn't be talking about them like we do. It's true. We talk about how the Spurs are such a model franchise. Tim Duncan changed all that. Tim Duncan changed all that. That's a very interesting take, Tomoko, because I think it would change a lot of things on how people would see that player if that player would be the one in the future to have been able to, you know, surpass Michael Jordan all not just accomplishments, but then you also have the statistics. I don't know if we're gonna see that player for a long time. Who knows if I'll be alive to see it? If we all are. So it's a very interesting point. Bronco Fanatic. Tell this for the people in the back. Thank you, sir. Pop isn't what he is if it wasn't for the big fundamental. Thank you, sir. That is a great, great point. Shout out to Troy Ingram in the building. He says Lamb bias. Oh, if he hadn't passed away, that dude would have definitely been a great player. But thank you, Bronco Fanatic, for mentioning this. People need to understand that these players make coaches. It's just some of the players had the coaches when they were established. When you look at Jordan and Pippen, Phil had no track record. He was an assistant coach under Doug Collins. When Phil came, it still took him 2 seasons to win an NBA championship. It didn't happen right away. And also, that was Tex Winter's offense, the triangle. Phil was good with psychological warfare, and T-Mac and Yao should have carried that torch for the league as a duo for a few years. They never got the chance to play together much. It's true. Great. That's another good point, Richard, because I really feel like that T-Mac and Yao could have been the next dominating duo in the league, especially because you have two 20-point scorers, with the ability to take over games in their prime. And Richard also says that, man, they're trying to make Zion the next Jordan right now. I know. They're trying to do that. They are really trying to do that, and I think that it's unfair. I want Zion to carve out his own career, man. Ron says, I've always wanted to see how far the Magic could have gone if they could have kept that team together with Penny and Shaq. I've always wondered that too. I've always wondered that. I think in the near future, I might want to do a what if scenario. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to also remind you guys that again, if you guys haven't, make sure to, what was I saying? I want you guys to make sure that I wanted you guys that, what was I gonna say? I'm trying to think. Oh, for the videos. There you go. Tomorrow I'm doing NFL trivia. I was trying to, so I'm gonna put the links in the, for those of you who are about the NFL, make sure I'm gonna share this video into the stream. I'm gonna click that. And you're right, Troy Ingram, Reggie Lewis was another one that was taken away far too soon. And there's a shot of Tmac and my man Kobe Bean. Rest in peace. And then we got the NBA. So I'm gonna put the links up in the description. Did I put the? Yeah, I did already. Okay, perfect. And then let me just do the NBA real quick. So these are trivias. These are both trivias. We'll be doing these tomorrow. And I want you guys to make sure to hit the like, to smash the like for both of those. If you guys could, please and thank you. Truly appreciate that. Let me see. All right, Bronco Fanatic says he's ready for tomorrow's trivia. Hopefully, I don't have any issues on the computer and stuff like that. Let me just continue. In the NFL, coaches make the players, and in the NBA, players make coaches. Good point, Bronco. Richard says Yao was also dominant on defense. People forget he could defend with the best of them, even though he was slow. True, and he was very good at shot blocking. He was a very good shot blocker. That's why I said that when you look at Yao, Yao is a rare breed because with him, with Yao, what was crazy about him was is that for a guy at his size, he was able to not only score the ball very efficiently and effectively, but he was also able to play defense despite the fact of how slow-footed he was. And shout out to Bronco Fanatic for smashing the like button for the live stream. For the make sure that you guys smash the like for that live stream for both the NFL and the NBA. NBA trivia will be on Saturday. The NFL trivia is going to be on Friday. So make sure for my NFL fans, you guys pull up for that one. Gonna be a lot of fun. Tomoko says, did you know in Japan they have a whole course in their schools mainly focused on anime? I'm not surprised by that. Japan is like home of anime. So I'm not surprised by that. Shout out to Caden in the building, and make sure you guys go subscribe to Caden. Congratulations to Caden for reaching 400 subscribers, and he is still and counting, and he's still going up. So if you guys haven't, make sure to go show Caden some love and subscribe to his channel. And he also says Yao Ming barely even had to jump to dunk, which is true. Yao Ming was right there at the basket. His head was right at the rim. So I mean, he didn't need to be athletic. I mean, if Yao was athletic, that would be kind of dangerous because he would be way above. So it just really didn't make, it didn't really make sense for him to jump because he was right there. So y'all really needed to be finesse. Honestly, he could just dunk on his tippy toe. Yeah, it was just right there. I remember, rest in peace, John Witherspoon. I remember when he did his little comedy show and he would talk about Yao called the Ming Ching Chow and talked about how he was 7'5" and that he at times he would struggle to get rebounds and tell him that the ball is right there and he's like, you're at the rim. I just cracked up because he was just kind of just poking some fun at Yao Ming, but it's crazy. Tmac and Yao in their time together with the Houston Rockets. So if we look at the 2004-2005 season with the Houston Rockets, if I could just get the click, thank you very much. This is how talented this Rocket team was. They were not a great offensive team because they were technically still in that defensive era. This is when the rules had just slowly started to change. They were 20th in scoring, 95 points per game. But their defense, they were third in opponents' points. This is where Tracy and Yao in their first year together. Yao plays, I believe, 80 games and Tmac plays 78. They allow 91 points per game, which was third in the league. Caden, let me know what's going on in the MLB draft. I had started to watch the draft a little bit, and I had wrote down the first 10 picks, and I kind of stopped there. But there's a lot of potential in that MLB draft from when I was from when I watched. I really like what I was seeing in that MLB draft. I know today they're doing rounds 2 to 5. I know they did the first round was for it was 37 picks for the first round, and then rounds 2 to 5. I believe it's 160 overall picks, but it goes from rounds 2 to 5 today, currently. I haven't checked it out, but I definitely am gonna do, and I am gonna come out with a baseball video tomorrow, which is talking about that there will be a Major League Baseball season. Caden says it's in the 5th round. Not much happening. Gotcha. Okay. But what was crazy, what stood out to me in that first round was the fact that that it took 8 picks. It took up until the 8th pick that they finally selected a high school player, and I believe the 8th and 9th pick back to back were both from high school. But the first 7 picks, all of those players drafted were all from college. Karam says that I'm mostly into the NFL and NBA drafts. That's cool. Shout out to John Gonzalez. Hello to you, man. Thank you for being here. I believe you're also from Alex Sports. Shout out to you for subscribing to the channel, and I appreciate you. And I appreciate you guys that are from Alex's channel. For helping me get to 800 subs. I would have not gotten there without you guys. So I want to say thank you to you guys. And John says the NBA is my jam. John, do you have a favorite team? Do you have a favorite team? Also, did you guys hear about Nikola Jokic? He slimmed down and he looks amazing. I don't know if you guys have seen Jokic, but he looks like he's in the 230 range right now. Oh, thank you, Ron. I was just talking about him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did you guys see Jokic? I mean, the dude dropped 30 to 50 pounds. I saw him. I said, dude, Jokic is looking crazy. Yeah. Jokic looks, the way Jokic is looking, he is in great shape. He looks like he's in great shape. I felt like this time was actually good for him, and he took his health seriously, and he did a good job shedding the weight. I mean, the man came into the season looking like 300 pounds. It's crazy how high school players can go from playing in small bar parks to playing in front of thousands of fans. I agree with that, Caden. Part of it has to do with their talent. I think if they're talented enough to go to breeze through the minor league level, from single A to double A to triple A, and then finally end up in the major league level, it is amazing to me. I mean, just look at Bryce Harper, for example, Caden. I mean, he was the #1 pick, and he came out of high school, and he was able to make the major league level in a very, very short time. You look at a guy like Steven Strasburg, and I like him as a pitcher. Yes, I am a Yankees fan, man. I am ride or die when it comes to the Yankees. But there's a lot of other teams that I watch and a lot of other players that I pay attention to, around the league. Karam says, Lewis, where do you think LaMelo's best fit is? It would have to be a team that needs a point guard. I don't think the Warriors need him, so I don't think that the only way that I see LaMelo being drafted by them is that if they use him as a tradable piece, but the Warriors don't need him. If I look at the draft, let me look at the NBA draft odds. It would have to be a team that needs a point guard, to be honest with you. The Knicks need a point guard, but the thing is, if he ends up getting drafted there, but the thing is, he's gonna go off early to me anyway. He's gonna get off early. So it's very interesting though. That's an interesting one, Bronco. Yeah, Ron. He looked like KP. It's crazy. Yeah. Bronco says I think the T Wolves should get Lamelo and put D'Lo as shooting guard. Yeah, since D'Lo loves to shoot the ball and Lamelo loves to pass, I think that actually would make sense. The Timberwolves could be a solid fit, especially because Karl Anthony Towns are there. Yeah, I like James Wiseman with the Warriors. I like him. I'm really hoping that the Atlanta Hawks, um, you know, I know they're kind of considering Anthony Edwards. Tomoko says Buddha apprenticed himself under two elderly masters of meditation to elevate his senses and appeared with five aesthetics to deprive his senses, ascetics, sorry, to deprive his senses before he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Man, I always love when Tomoko brings this kind of information. And I know people are like, why isn't Tomoko talking about basketball? Tomoko doesn't really know about the game. At once, Tomoko followed the game, just not as much as she once used to. Um, Caden says, I'll be posting an MLB draft analysis vid tonight. Quick question, Caden. Are you going to go from rounds 1 to 5? And I want to actually look at that video. Are you also are you going to specifically talk about the players that your Atlanta Braves drafted, or are you going to talk about what teams you felt like, won or lost in terms of their draft? You know, and I know we're talking about Tmac and Yao, but it also is good to always talk about a little bit of what's going on in here, which is I actually want to do kind of change things up, and I actually want to do kind of like interviews. So this would be interesting uh, in terms of like basketball talk. Okay, Ron says that the Knicks and the Pistons are the team that want LaMelo the most. I think LaMelo, in terms of recognition, would be good as a New York Knick because he'll be playing in the Big Apple. I think LaMelo at the Big Apple would be good in terms of all that. Okay, so he's broke my heart when Yao and T-Mac couldn't stay healthy. I feel you, Sly. I feel you. I told you this was the next dominating duo after Kobe and Shaq in the NBA, man. And Caden said maybe it's a grading. All right, sounds good, man. I'm looking forward to that video. Sly says, I mean, no, I'm sorry. Bronco Fanatic says the Cavs can get Anthony Edwards and make him a small forward because Colin Sexton is the shooting guard, and they believe in Darius Garland at the point, or the Cavs can take Denny Avdija. He's my dark horse pick. Mm. And remember, guys, the NBA draft will be on October 15th. For those who don't know, the lottery will be August 25th, and the draft itself will be October 15th. And NBA free agency will be October 18th, and the 2020-21 season will begin on December 1st, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here, December 1st. And Bronco also says that LaMelo with RJ and MSG is actually going to be pretty fun to watch. I think it's going to be interesting. Okay, so getting back to the Houston Rockets, they won 51 games. Jeff Van Gundy was the coach. Yeah, so they were third in opponents' points per game, guys. So they had a great defense. Third in opponents' points, 91 points per game. Their defensive rating was fourth in the league. They were at 101.7. They just offensively were a challenged team, 15th in offense, and they were 20th in points per game. So not a very high scoring offense. So their defense could keep you in games, but it wasn't, crazy. So they had John Barry, Vin Baker, Andre Barrett, Ryan Bowen, Torrey Briggs, Reese Gaines, Jawan Howard, Jim Jackson, Mike James, Brandon Knight, Tyronn Lue, Tracy McGrady, Yao Ming, Dikembe Mutombo, Boston Nakbar, I remember him. Moochie Norris, Scott Padgett, Rod Strickland, Bob Shura, Maurice Taylor, and Charlie Ward. I believe that was Charlie Ward's last season in the league, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Clarence Weatherspoon and David Wesley. David Wesley, the former Hornet. Some players don't want to play in the Orlando bubble. I've been hearing that. That's why when I heard that most players want to play or everybody wants to play, I'm like, who's telling the truth? I said, there's rumblings that saying that Carmelo Anthony might not even be invited to come to play in Orlando. And people forget that the Blazers are trying to fight for the 8th and final playoff spot. He doesn't come, that hurts the Blazers' chances because you take away Dame and CJ, who are they going to get their scoring from? And Sly says the Celtics versus the Rockets in 2009 finals, if both teams were healthy, KG got hurt in Orlando, by Cleveland. What's crazy is we would have saw Yao against Kevin Garnett in the NBA Finals. Tracy McGrady goes up against Paul Pierce and then Ray Allen. He would have been guarded by Shane Battier. But my point is, the 2009 Rockets, and then you got Ron Artest. So Ron Artest will be guarding Paul Pierce, and Tracy McGrady guards Ray Allen, and Yao Ming goes up against Kevin Garnett. That would have been a very interesting series for me. Fully healthy 2009 Rockets, fully healthy 2009 Boston Celtics with Rajon Rondo running the point guard, and then you got Aaron Brooks. There would have been a lot of intriguing matchups, in my personal opinion, if the Houston Rockets would have went up against the 2009 Boston Celtics. There's some intriguing matchups there. Okay, so yeah, they lost in 7 games to the Dallas Mavericks, who ended up losing in the second round to the 2005 Phoenix Suns, who had the best record in the NBA that year. So the 2006 season was unfortunate. It's crazy how they were still, for a team that struggled to score, and they had injuries to Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady. They were still 4th in opponents' points in 2006, and they were 6th in defensive rating. Was Kyle Lowry on that 2009 team? I believe he was. I think he came off the bench. Yeah, he was on that 2009 team. So, yeah, if you look at the Houston Rockets in 2006, they definitely would have made the playoffs, and it showed you how great defensively they were. Now, let's look at 2007. They win 52 games, and check it out once again. They were not a great offensive team because it just goes to show you that it was still slow. It was still a defensive era. I think the Rockets would have beaten the Celtics in 7 games, says Bronco. Possible. Sly says, I teared up when Tmac had 40 in that loss to Utah in 2008. The Bronco Fanatic says the Celtics had so many opportunities to win multiple championships with that big 3. That's true. They brag about their one championship that they won in 2008, and they had multiple opportunities, to win multiple championships. So I definitely feel you on that. The Rockets really never drew a lot of people, and it was because they were a small market team. It's funny because the 2017, they were predicted to win 55 to 56 games, ladies and gentlemen. 55 to 56 games. Rick Adelman was the coach. Yeah, he was the coach for the 07. I think it was he took over after the 2007 season. But look at that. The Rockets were 3rd in opponents' points, and they were 3rd in defensive rating. So the Rockets were a very, very stout defensive team. If you look at the 2007 season, Tmac played 71 games that year, which was better than the previous season when he played 47, but Yao only played 48 games. Tmac averaged 24 points. Yao averaged 25 points and 9 rebounds. So, and he shot 51% from the field. They ended up losing in 7 games to the Utah Jazz. And if you look at their playoffs, Tracy McGrady had 177 total points and Yao Ming had 176 points combined. They both averaged 25 points per game. So Tmac gave you 25 points, 6 rebounds and 7 assists a game, but he only shot 39% from the field. Yao gave you 25 points and 10 rebounds and shot 44% from the field. Still lets you know the defense was still being played in that era, ladies and gentlemen. It just lets you know. All right, shout out to Bronco Fanatic. He says he wishes he could stay, but he's got to go. Appreciate you, Bronco. Appreciate you for always showing support and showing love. Peace out. And Corral says Rick Adelman was the coach. Yeah, it was in '08. And he says, Sly says he teared up after Tmac had 40 in that loss to Utah in 2008. I feel you. And Sly also says, I just wanted T-Mac to have at least one ring, one moment to show the world that he was still on Kobe's level. Yep. But I think selfishness, I think injuries, both kind of played a factor into T-Mac's career as to why he didn't get a championship. Also, the injuries to Yao, obviously. And then if you look at the 2008 season, ladies and gentlemen, when they lost the very next year, they won, I believe it was 55 games. Yeah, they won 55 games. But look at this, man. Rick Adelman and this is when Daryl Morey became the GM of the team. But look at this, even with Rick Adelman, who is known as an offensive coach for the most part. All right, shout out to Richard. He says, man, he's got to go. Also, man, peace out, Richard. Thank you for coming through, man. Appreciate you, man. All right, take care, guys. Again, smash the like and the subscribe. Houston is not a small market, though. It really isn't. They kind of treat it like that, but it really isn't a small market. It really isn't a small market, though. I never treated it like that. So yeah, smash the like and the subscribe as well. The Rockets could have beaten the Jazz in 2008 and played the Lakers in the semifinals. Oh, in 2008, yeah. And look at that. Even with Rick Adelman, they were fourth in opponents' points and they were second in defensive rating. But again, they struggled as an offensive team. And if you look at the amount of games being played this season, Yao played 55, averaging 22 and 10 on 50% from the field. Tmac played 66 games, so he missed some time with injuries. He averaged 21 points, but he only shot 41%. And that was another issue with Tmac. Tmac played in the hero ball era, and he wasn't really as efficient as he could have been. So he was a volume scorer. McGrady had little to no help in Orlando. I'm gonna say, well, here's what I'm gonna say about T-Mac. In turn, what stinks is T-Mac did not have that second superstar that he could have played with, which he regrets not re-signing with Toronto and playing with Vince Carter. But I kind of question how much of their work ethic they would have. It's funny because T-Mac said that him and Vince could have been the next Jordan and Pippen. But if you look at both Vince and T-Mac, I feel like they didn't work as hard because neither one of them, they could have been all defenders, but they weren't even really great defenders. And they were capable of being great defenders because of how athletic they were. They just never put that mindset on defense. And the thing is, Sly, there were a lot of injuries on that Magic team for a couple of years. I would say the 2004 team, more so than anything, really had no help. That was just a very, very, very bad team. Very bad team. That was a very bad team. But the 2002 and 2003 teams, they had a lot of players injured. They had quite a few players injured. They had 3 to 4 players injured in both 2002 and 2003. True, but T-Mac did blow a 3-1 lead in Detroit, and he could have beaten Charlotte in 2002. T-Mac had been in a lot of close games in those 2002 and 2003 playoffs. And you can make the case in 2001 as well against the Bucks. He would have won more if he stayed with the Raptors, man, but money talks. Yeah, money talks. T-Mac could have been a Los Angeles Laker. T-Mac could have been a member of the Miami Heat. He could have been traded to the Chicago Bulls for Scottie Pippen. I just don't know how much patience MJ would have had trying to mold a young T-Mac, but he definitely would have pushed T-Mac in terms of his work ethic. It's true. I think having a guy like Jordan would have helped T-Mac's mindset be different. I mean, take a look at Carmelo Anthony. Had he been drafted by Detroit, his mentality would have been different, and he would have had the mindset of a winner. Carmelo would have been committed to. I mean, look what he would have been surrounded with. He would have had Chauncey at the start of his career. You have Rip Hamilton in the beginning of your career. You have Ben. You have the Wallace brothers, Ben and Rashid, and then you have the head coaching of Larry Brown, who's in the Hall of Famer Larry Brown. And all they need was that consistent go-to scorer, which Carmelo Anthony was. You put him on that Detroit Pistons team, man. You know that's a what if. You know, so there's just a lot of things that could have played a factor, but T Mac most definitely for sure would have been much more talked about. He would have been much more remembered, and people would have looked at him as being on the level of Kobe Bryant. So Sly, I agree with you. And we would be looking at Yao as one of the greatest centers in NBA history. And let me ask y'all this question: if Yao Ming was healthy, fully healthy, and he's showing you his greatness as a center, and this guy was still able to make 8 All-Star teams, and I know it's due to the large fan base in China, because remember the NBA did go global now. Smash the like, hit the subscribe. Where would Yao Ming probably be all time? Chandler Parsons was injury prone. I agree with that. He was staying healthy with Houston, but got hurt so many times in Dallas. T-Mac could have been a 76er for Larry Hughes in 99 2000. That means him and Allen Iverson would have played together, but I wonder with 2 scores, how they would have done with Larry Brown. Parsons was hurt too in Memphis. True. That's a good point. Yeah, Melo was a great scorer, but doesn't really play winning basketball as well. That's been Melo's problem his whole career, really. The thing is, I like Melo as an offensive player in terms of a scorer, but I know he has a little bit of limitations and somewhat. But I mean, I gotta say, I mean, it's crazy that Chauncey Billups, who's one of the more well-respected players to ever play the game, was saying how Melo would go out and get his own numbers. This is a former teammate of his, saying that. When you hear something like that, you're like, wow, something you didn't expect. You thought that he would be there, and it's funny how Melo agreed, but he was pissed at the same time. He's like, "Yo, no, not that. It was just the timing of it, especially when Melo was trying to get back in the league. Melo's not really a good defender. No, Melo was as great. Listen, I like Melo as an offensive player. I liked him on the Knicks. I felt that they didn't really build around him correct, and the best team that they really had was that 2013 team. But Melo was selfish, though. He was. Melo was selfish because the Houston situation was not his fault, though. Because I feel like Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni were not high on Melo, but they were there because of CP3. And the way Melo was kind of kicked out, it was kind of like, well, their defense was bad because of Melo. No, it was because of the team. Karan says, I wanted him out of OKC so bad. Ron says, Parsons was pretty good before for a while, but the injuries started to kick in. I know. Sly says, Chuck Hayes. Chuck Hayes was my bulldog for the Rockets. Oh, that's right, Chuck Hayes. That dude was strong for 6'6". Okay, so they get eliminated by the Utah Jazz, right? And they had that historic 20-game win streak, 22-game win streak during the regular season. In the playoffs, they lost in 6 games. Tmac averaged 27 points, but he only shot 42%. And I believe Yao Ming was injured in this series because it doesn't show him. He didn't play. And look, wow, Bobby Jackson was his teammate, the guy who he fought when Bobby was a Sacramento King and he was in Orlando. And I still remember that fight to this day. Shout out to Caden who says he just finished filming his MLB video. Should be up soon. I no doubt. Like I said, man, if you guys haven't, man, make sure y'all go subscribe to Caden Alvis, man. It's producing pretty good content over there. So make sure you guys go check him out. Please go check Caden out if you guys haven't subscribed to his channel yet. Sly says that the Knicks did Mike Woodson wrong. Oh, that's facts. Mike Woodson was the reason that the Knicks even looked credible for once. I mean, he improved their defense so much. I know he's not really an offensive coach, but the Knicks played great defense under Mike Woodson. We actually look like a good team under Mike Woodson. We actually look like a good team. I'm not saying championship, but we actually look like a good team for a moment. So yeah, the Rockets lose to the Jazz back-to-back years, and now let's get to 2009. 2009, which in my personal opinion, I think was the best Rockets team. It was the best Rockets team. I agree, Sly. Woodson brought defense and toughness to the Knicks, but we got punked by the Pacers in 2013. We should have played the Heat. We should have. We were more talented than that Pacer team. No disrespect to Indiana. They played pretty good defense. Very tough, gritty, hard-nosed basketball team. Again, I would never try to disrespect them like that. Not to say that they can't play, but I'm just saying in terms of us Knicks, we should have beat them. We should have beat them. And we should have faced the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Was one of the Thunder's, shout out to Sports Critic, what's up? The 2017-2018 was one of the Thunder seasons, which was tough to watch. That team had so much potential, but it was tough to watch. The way the Hawks took the Pacers to 7 in 2014 and nearly knocked them out. If the Knicks were in the playoffs, we might have upset the Pacers. Melo's 2012-2013 was MVP mode. But I'm going to say this, though. They really disrespected Kevin Durant that year. He didn't get a single first-place vote in 2013. And he had a 50-40-90 season the very first year that James Harden ended up going to Houston that year and was a Houston Rocket. That dude didn't get one first-place vote. And again, also, guys, make sure you guys go subscribe to Sports Critic if you haven't, man. He's trying to get to 800 subscribers. I know the ultimate goal is to obviously get more, but it's like, I believe he's close to 760, man. But if you guys can, make sure you guys go subscribe to Sports Critic, man. Help this brother out. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel, man. I really would appreciate if you guys subscribe to Sports Critic. He has some really good content. I was on his channel just a few days ago, and I had a lot of fun over there. And it was a really good time, and definitely knows his sports. Again, if you're into NBA 2K, he does a My Career mode on NBA 2K. He talks football. He loves basketball as well, and he's really passionate about those sports. So make sure to go give him some love and go subscribe to his channel. Make sure to do that. Please go subscribe. Go subscribe to Source Critic if you haven't yet. So G Money has a question. He says, in your opinion, had the Knicks won Game 6 in Indy, do you think we would have won Game 7 and overcame a 3-1 deficit? I would have said we would have had the opportunity. I don't know if we would have gotten it done because I don't know if Melo can live to that kind of pressure. And the Knicks, I would have said we had an opportunity. Melo was feasting with the Knicks and Nuggets, but he looked like garbage in OKC. I mean, he was not. Melo was the third. He was the third fiddle in OKC. Remember, in New York and the Nuggets, he was the primary option. But the thing is, he's not really your first option, though, on a championship team. I'm being really honest about Melo, and I like Melo. But he's not your first option on a championship team. He's really more so your third option. But that's why Melo really didn't play really conducive winning basketball because he was about his numbers. And and it's like I love Melo, man, but it's the truth. You know, if people want to say that I'm a hater on that part, that's fine, but it is what it is. And Caden just came out with the MLB post draft analysis, so make sure you guys go check that out. I'm gonna leave the link in the video. So if you guys haven't, if you guys could, I'm gonna put that link in there. Make sure to go give a like to the video, and also make sure to go subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna put that here in the chat. Shout out to Ryan in the building. He says, "What up to the chat?" And what up, Lewis? Appreciate that. Here's the link to Caden's channel. Disappointing. Yeah, they did blow a 25-point lead. Just sliding by. Appreciate it. Thunder should have forced a game 7 against Utah in 2018. No way in hell that the Jazz, led by a rookie, should have beat a super team in OKC. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Again, make sure to yeah, would have been GOAT if not injury prone. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it sucks that he got injured in 2008 because he could have made a difference in that series against the Jazz. So in 2009, the Rockets won 53 games. Actually, it was really 54. They were again seventh in defense and they were fourth in defensive rating. But if you look at their team, so this team had Carl Landry, Chuck Hayes, Joey Dorsey, Ryan Cook, Aaron Brooks, Shane Battier, Brent Barry, Luis Scola, Von Wafer, James White, Meta World Peace, Luther Head. I remember Luther Head. Wow. Rafer Alston, Tmac, and Yao Ming. The problem is Tmac only played 35 games in 2009. How many more games would they have won if Tmac had played full? Yao Ming played 77 games, the most he played in 3 seasons. Yeah, he was a 4. Melo's naturally a 3. No problem, Caden. You know, anything to help somebody out, man. Help somebody grow. So I appreciate that. And again, make sure you guys go check out the link on Caden's channel and smash the like. And if you haven't, make sure y'all go subscribe. He just did an MLB draft analysis, so make sure to go check that out. Um, so yeah, if you look at the games that T Mac played, it was only 35. He didn't play in the series against Kobe and the Lakers. It would have really helped because I remember they faced the Rockets in the first round. I mean, not the Rockets. The Rockets played the Blazers in the first round. And another what if, Brandon Roy. Do you think if Yao didn't get hurt in that series, you think they beat the Lakers if healthy that playoff series? They had a chance to beat them because they pushed them to 7 games. And the thing was, they beat the Lakers in game 1 on the road and held the Lakers to 91 points, which tells you that if they slowed the game down and played through Yao, the Rockets win because the Rockets, they were deep. You put T-Mac scoring in there, the Rockets probably win that series against the Lakers. And how different would we have been looking at Kobe Bryant to go from the NBA Finals in 2008 after that Power Gasol trade, and then you lose in the second round to the Houston Rockets? I don't think it'd be something that Kobe would have been able to deal with. The funny thing is also the Rockets were better defensive teams. Arguably, the Magic were a solid defense, just not as good as the Rockets. The Rockets were much more stout defensively. They were always in the top 5 to 10 in defensive categories. It's crazy. It's really crazy that all of that happened, man. But that was the Rockets' best team. Luis Scola on that team. You know, those guys are good. And if you look at the points, let me look at the points per game. Man, okay, we look at the totals. They had six guys averaging double figures that season. Tmac only averaged 15 points that year, and he only shot 38%. But that was when the injury bug really, really, really hated. Um, Tomoko says, "Do you think children's authors, books authors, can make a sports themed story for children to teach them moral lessons?" Oh yeah, I mean, it's true. It's very possible, Tomoko. If the Lakers didn't blow a 24-point lead, they might be. Man, G Money always be going all over the place. It's crazy, man. I guess LeBron was right saying you have to have a little luck in order to win. Nah, I still think the Celtics would have still won the title in 2008. I think the Celtics still win the NBA championship in 2008 as well. I think so too. All right, Caden says he thanks for everything. I'm gonna head out. Have a good night. All right, have a good night, Caden. Thank you for coming, man. They were more aggressive team than the Lakers. It's true. That is very true. Much more aggressive team. Okay, so finally, before I close out this stream, let me just ask y'all this, man. Where would we rank T-Mac and Yao Ming all time if these two were to be healthy? If these two were healthy, where in your opinion would you rank them all time? Now, Jay says no. He thinks that the Rockets had better, and shout out to Jay. He thinks that the Rockets had better success with Mac. A healthy T Mac playing off the bench, and the Rockets may have been unstoppable. It would have allowed T Mac to play T Mac ball. Actually, that might work. Actually, if you put him on the 2009 team, having him come off the bench, that actually would have helped because he probably wouldn't have been as injured. You could play him a little bit of less minutes, but knowing T Mac, he would have wanted to start. That's the thing. He probably would have wanted to start. All right, shout out to Tomoko says how delightful it was. I appreciate that. Ryan says, you think the outcome be the same in the '08 finals that the Lakers had behind them the whole final series? It's possible that it might change because you have another interior presence that can match up with Kendrick Perkins and then Kevin Garnett because Powell got bullied in that series by those two. And when it happened, that's where Powell was getting that soft reputation from a lot of the players in the league. So that's why I said that I think that Kobe talking and mentoring Powell the way he did really helped them be tough. It helped Powell be tough in the later championships in 2009 and 2010. So for people who are saying that Kobe doesn't make his teammates better, he really did make Powell a better player. So, we can say, yeah, Kobe would have never won without Powell, but it's true. Powell would have never won without Kobe. I say that there would have been a top 20 duo ever. Okay, Slide says top 20, top 40 to 50. Jay says, check the playoff series, man. Watch them. I say start T-Mac in 2009 so you could get his scoring early. T-Mac can create his own shot. You know what, though? With the way that the Rockets play team ball, especially with Yao Ming in the lineup, T-Mac actually would have been good to come off the bench because he would keep their offense going and the fact that he could get his own shot. And considering how injured T-Mac was getting, I think it would have benefited him coming off the bench. He may not think so, but I think so. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, this was Lewis Sports Network coming at you with another stream. Kobe does make his teammates better. He made Powell, Odom, Vujicic, Farmer better. Hey, Lewis, if you have Netflix, I invite you to check out Green Eggs and Ham. I do have it, and I will check it out. Of course. G Money says Kobe does make his teammates better. He made Powell, Bynum, Odom, Vujicic, and Farmer, and etc. better. I said that Kobe in the second half of his career was a better team leader. Not the first half, the second half. And the thing is, it was difficult for him to do it anyway because Shaq was the leader of the team. It was difficult. So it was just no way Kobe was going to be able to be the person. It wasn't his time yet. It was not his time yet. And people need to understand that. I say T-Mac Yao combo would be the best version of Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge. Interesting take, Ryan. I say 2009 Rockets were more unluckier than the 2018 Rockets because they had more injuries than the 2018 team, and that 2018 team choked worse. Yes, because they had a 3-2 lead and they had double digit leads in both games. That's why I say that the 2009 Rockets are more unluckier than the 2018 team because it had opportunities. So yeah, Chris Paul was injured, but at the same time, they had their opportunities. Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, and LaMarcus Aldridge would have been an interesting trio. T-Mac starting versus not playing was only 3-point average difference with less field goals in 2009. Rockets would have benefited as a whole with T-Mac in and out of the lineup to come off the bench with Sweet Lou role. All right, man. We chat together, we stream together, we fan for life. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, this is your boy Lewis with another stream. Again, continue to smash the like, continue to hit the subscribe, continue to share the stream. If T-Mac and Yao would have been healthy, they would have won a couple of championships. As a duo all time, they probably could be anywhere from the 20 to 25 range in terms of best duos of all time, possibly, if they would have won multiple. Yao was an MVP candidate at least once in his career, and that was something that T-Mac wasn't really, though. I would have to see where T-Mac had his MVP finishes, but I don't think T-Mac was as considered as an MVP candidate at any time in his career. So anyway, bless up, live, laugh, love. Thank you guys for being part of the stream. Continue to like, continue to subscribe, and continue to share the videos on your social media outlets and Reddit. This is your boy Lewis with another one. I will see you back on tomorrow with NFL streams. Imagine if Brandon Roy didn't get hurt. We have to do another what ifs, man, and when it comes to these injuries. So again, deuces, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and I appreciate y'all, man. Yeah, T-Mac needed to be a 1B. It's true.